When I first started watching this campaign ad, even though it was brought to my attention by a person I consider to be a legitimate source for news and political commentary, I found myself questioning if it was real or just one big joke. I mean that too. I actually found myself laughing at this campaign ad throughout it. In its production, the political talking points and how they're being covered, the people being used in it, and they are being used in the literal sense, along with their acting and a host of other things. It is as if this campaign ad came straight from Saturday Night Live during the mid-80s through mid-90s of the show. I'm talking long before it lost its mojo, when it still knew how to party on after eating some bad red rope licorice, man. A time when you could say schwing to or about a woman without a feminazi wanting to castrate you for doing so. I'm talking back when saying, well, isn't that special, was said sarcastically to people instead of as a faux compliment to avoid special snowflakes such as those who make up a large number of the participation trophy generation, spurting out as a result of a bruised ego and hurt feelings. I'm talking back before the Butabi brothers would get wrapped up in the whole Me Too movement as its victims and probably end up behind bars sucking dick for protection. An era when Al Franken actually made fun of effeminate, soy boy, mentally and emotionally unstable, possibly gay, far-left men, instead of trying to pander to them, such as he did when he was a politician. During those days of Saturday Night Live, they were not beholden to political correctness. They did not push ideologies either, such as those right out of the pages of Cultural Marxism and globalism. They did not promote or defend open borders. The show was not a propaganda outlet for any of these things, never mind establishment candidates who want them. Which is exactly why they would have done something like this campaign ad, covering pretty much the same things and done so in parody, which goes to show how far things have shifted in our nation and society. The campaign ad that could have been done for a pre-recorded SNL segment starring the late, great Phil Hartman comes to us from the state of Maryland and a candidate running for governor. One that I am pretty sure close to no one has ever heard of before, especially those he claims hate him. So who is this man, this myth and legend in his own mind? Why, it's no other than Richard Madaleno, some middle-aged leftist gay snowflake who actually and truly believes he matters. He tries to show it in his campaign ad by using monumental levels of virtue signaling and oppression Olympics-based identity politics. He has done it to the point of where he's turned himself and everything he says he stands for into one big parody of the left, one fit for Saturday Night Live 20 or 30 years ago, as I've already said. To prove this, I have taken his campaign ad and added a laugh track to it, nothing more, nothing less. And you're all about to see it for yourselves, laughs and all. Judge it and decide if I'm right about Madaleno, his ad, and how it could be on Saturday Night Live back then. After, I'm going to go through and break things down and respond to it all. Now, without further ado, for your viewing pleasure, the Saturday Night Live skit that Phil Hartman would have killed doing. No pun intended.
I'm Rich Madaleno. I'm running for governor to deliver progressive results and to stand up to Donald Trump. Here are a few of the things I've done that already infuriate him. I protected Planned Parenthood from the Republicans in Congress.
Take that, Trump.
I helped ban assault weapons in Maryland.
Take that, NRA.
I believe in public schools, not vouchers.
Take that, Trump. And Betsy DeVos.
And what's the #1 way I piss off Donald Trump and the Republicans? Take that, Trump.
Welcome back to reality, folks. I hope that you enjoyed Richard Madaleno standing in for Phil Hartman, where he's dead and the show must go on. But in all seriousness, it's now time to go through and cut to shreds Madaleno, his ad, and his talking points. So let's just get into it. Right off the bat, we have Madaleno start off his virtue signaling. He is running so that he can deliver progressive results and stand up to Donald Trump? Seriously? He is running for governor of a state and honestly thinks that will give him the juice he needs to take on literally the most powerful man on the planet. A man who's managed to get a tin pot despot of a dictator to shit himself, come to the negotiating table, and even agree to denuclearize. Who the fuck does he think he's fooling here with this bullshit that he'll actually successfully stand up to Trump? It's about as believable as it was for his mother hearing Richard tell his father he wasn't gay for all those years he was in the closet. A governor does not have the power to take on the president and win, especially when the governor wants feels over reals and contrary to the law. It just doesn't work like that. Anyone who believes him probably believes the Clinton DNC Russian narrative is gospel, as I am also sure they probably believe Trump paid Russian hookers to piss on a bed the Obama slept in and ran off to the bathroom to say he hates blacks while they were giving it their golden showers. And I wouldn't be surprised if they also believe in Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, and the Boogeyman too. Which if they probably believe those things, they probably believe that Madaleno has actually personally infuriated President Trump. Like he's some one-man identity politics army taking on the president and beating him all himself. This is when I would put money on the fact Trump has no fucking clue who this guy is. Hell, I'd bet the farm, if I had one, that most people in his own state, never mind the district he's supposed to serve, even know who he is. This is because most people really don't pay attention to politics on a state or local level beyond the governor. Honestly, do you even know who your representatives are in your state legislature? Do you know the names of anyone in it? I am going to hazard a guess and say that a lot of you said no to the first question, if not both. I personally only know who a couple of people are in the New Hampshire state legislature, and I'm not even going to use the cop-out that there is 400 people in the House of Representatives alone to try to cover my ass on that one either. So as you can see, if a large number of people in his own state don't even know who he is, then how in the hell would President Trump even remotely have a clue as to who he is? He wouldn't. It really is that simple and goes to show how full of shit Madaleno really is. I mean, when you have it packed up there like he has over the years, I'm sure not even a series of colonics will solve that problem. Plus, being a politician, full of shit tends to be in the job description, so it should be expected anyways. The whole reason why he made this campaign ad and debuted it on Fox and Friends was for the publicity and resulting free advertising it would end up bringing his way. It wasn't to piss off Trump or rub salt into a wound with him. Trump probably was like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" and laughed at him. That is, if he even saw the campaign ad, considering being the most powerful man in the world is a busy job. Madaleno knew running the ad on Fox, especially the show he chose, would garner national attention from the legacy media along with the left and leftist outlets. He knew they would cover his doing it and push his bullshit narrative of how he's pissing off Trump, which is exactly what they did too. In the process, they did for him what he could never do for himself. They put his name out there across his state well beyond the few who know who he is in his district. The fact that they garnered him national attention is just gravy for Madaleno, not being potential voters. The thing is though, even with his new exposure, it is highly unlikely that anyone beyond his core constituency is going to vote for him. When you use a term like progressive results, which is just code for wanting more cultural Marxism, the only people you're going to attract are your fellow cultural Marxists and socialists. Those of a similar mindset. No one else is really going to buy into your shit. This is especially true when you're openly throwing in people's faces your cultural Marxist leftist beliefs, wrapped up in identity politics and virtue signaling. Which now takes us to the actual meat of Richard Madaleno's campaign ad. Too bad it's just soy-based product trying to pass itself off as the real thing. Right off the bat, Madaleno chose to lead off with Planned Parenthood and is supposedly protecting it from the Republicans in Congress of the United States. Let's put this into context, because this is some funny shit. Madaleno is actually trying to claim that as a lowly state senator in Maryland, he single-handedly protected all of Planned Parenthood from the big bad Republicans in Washington. Nowhere, not even in some bizarro whacked-out universe, would that remotely make any sense, never mind even come close to sounding believable. It is impossible for him to do that, yet you know the leftists just bought this bullshit and ate it up with a spoon. What lying Richie Madaleno actually did was far from protecting Planned Parenthood. What he did was sponsor a bill in the state's Senate forcing Maryland's taxpayers to subsidize Planned Parenthood in the state if the federal government ever cuts funding to it. He put them on the hook to pay for the sexual activities of people in the state who just happen to be overwhelmingly women if the federal government decides to stop giving free money to Planned Parenthood. Personally, I think that the federal government should stop its funding and subsidization of Planned Parenthood. It is a non-governmental agency that takes in millions of dollars from private donors. Why should the federal government throw good money after bad so people can get free shit? Especially when their wanting free shit is the direct result of their inability to keep it in their pants and not taking the necessary precautions you should when you can't. If you're going to stick your dick in someone or let them stick their dick in you, it's up to you to take responsibility for doing that. It isn't society's responsibility to deal with the consequences of your actions. If you can't afford birth control and or having a kid, keep your fucking pants on. How hard is it to understand such simple concepts as personal responsibility and no glove, no love? For some reason though, people don't get things like that. They also don't get the fact that what they believe Planned Parenthood does and what it actually does are two different things. They have so many people snowed on what they do, it goes well past funny to the point of sad. People actually believe that they offer a full range of reproductive services, along with prenatal care and things like mammograms. They really don't though. Planned Parenthood actually only provides a limited amount of services. Like with mammograms, for example. You can't exactly offer those when you don't have mammography equipment in your offices. Now can you? And they don't. Then there is that supposed prenatal care that Planned Parenthood claims to offer women. Ultrasounds are a major part of providing this type of care to make sure that mother and child are in good health and there are no complications. Yet, they try to dissuade women from getting them, especially if they are sitting on the fence about keeping the baby. They even try to get them to avoid getting one when they are getting an abortion as well, and it's a requirement of performing one. Why do they do this? Because once women see the ultrasound, if they are on the fence or even there for an abortion, most end up deciding to keep the baby after seeing it on the screen. They are the real cash cow after all, with selling fetal tissue, organs, body parts, etc. So we know they offer abortions. Then they also offer on top of that STD testing and birth control. That's about it. They really don't offer anything else. None of it is a right either. It's not a right to have a free or reduced price abortion, nor is it a right to have free or reduced price birth control and STD testing for that matter. If you honestly think they are rights, you are fucked in the head on the level of getting an eye socket skull fucking from Ron Jeremy. Sorry to break that to you, but you are. There are so many things wrong with this part of the campaign ad, but I'm only going to focus on a small portion of them, pretty much the ones I found worthy of comment. Just look at the makeup of the group of women surrounding Madaleno here. If you didn't notice, right off the bat, for such a virtue-signaling, progressive, gay man, he sure does like the old-school Southern Dixiecrat way of doing things. He has all of the white women front and center, with the darker skin tones tucked away in the back behind them until needed for a bit of show to virtue signal. You look at those women who he put up front, and it goes to show he doesn't understand the concept of leading off with your best players. To the identity politics loving cultural Marxist left, they are definitely not an example of putting your best foot forward. You have a post-menopausal second-wave feminist bookended by two cat ladies. This isn't going to earn you much street cred in the identity politics crowd. That second-wave feminist is not someone who is frequenting Planned Parenthood for the limited reproductive services it offers. Her nether regions are as barren as the Sahara Desert, probably as dry and dusty as well. Then on top of this, I highly doubt the hippie-turned-grandma is still practicing free love at her age. This takes us to the bookends, the cat ladies. The one on the right with the receding hairline from her constant wearing of that bitch bun, she's most likely a carpet-munching, box-charring, hardcore feminist lesbian. One of the militant, wannabe intellectual types from academia. Her preference of women kind of negates her as someone who'd use the services of Planned Parenthood. Then on top of that, her having multiple cats she treats like her children, again, another negating factor to her frequenting them. Which is going to be the same case with the other cat lady. She doesn't swing the same way, at least exclusively, but still a bad choice. Back in her heyday, I'm sure she very well could have been a frequent customer of Planned Parenthood, especially during her college years. After college, with her pursuing her career in feminist agendas, I would hazard a guess and say the same thing at first. Over time, with less men coming into her life, due to her choices, she needed them less and less. Due to her third-wave feminism and putting her career as top priority, her playing the field, having fun and waiting until she got older, her obscenely high standards, I think you get the picture, she's alone and wanting a family. Caring for her cats and having them as a surrogate is an attempt to make up for her not having real children. I will say this though, the ones who might need Planned Parenthood or a free clinic in regards to her these days are the guys who didn't wrap it before they tapped it. With her, my point I think is made. This takes us now to the back row, the You're Not Rosa Parks section of the crowd. Now I'm going to save the best for last with these two ladies. So I'm going to lead off with the one on the left who appears to be of Hispanic descent. She's actually pretty cut and dry on being a bad choice. For starters, Hispanics tend to be overwhelmingly Catholics. At minimum, they are at least Christians. Not only that, they tend to be devout in their beliefs. The only thing they might slant towards defying the church on is birth control. If you are trying to get the Hispanic vote and or for them to come on down and help make Planned Parenthood competitive with McDonald's on billions being served, it just doesn't work. Which is why he chose the one on the right in the Rosa Parks section to parade out in this Planned Parenthood part of his campaign ad. A black woman, given the history of Planned Parenthood and its founder, Margaret Sanger, is an odd choice to say the least. Anyone familiar with the history of the United States in the early part of the 20th century is going to know this too. Back then, the nation had a lot of influential people in high society and politics trying to shape the country based on eugenics. One of these people was Margaret Sanger. It actually was the reason why she founded Planned Parenthood. Her goal with it was to cull what she considered the inferior stocks. Whites of low IQ, blacks, Hispanics, Asians, basically anyone who isn't white and stupid, she wanted to remove from the face of the nation and earth. Planned Parenthood was to be her way to contribute to this happening. On some levels, it has been doing its part to this end even today. The population of blacks in the US has remained consistent at around 13% with no net loss or gain. This is while other ethnic groups have seen either net increases or losses. Planned Parenthood places locations primarily in poor, non-white neighborhoods on top of this, such as those that are black demographically. Here's a black woman cheering on Planned Parenthood continuing on Sanger's genocide of her people for a gay Dixiecrat while telling President Trump to take that. Am I the only one who finds this even just a little bit funny? Because it kind of is, even if it's in that exploit someone kind of way to the point of it being offensive. He's more than willing to do it with other people too. Just look at him here with these three kids front and center. The one on the right holding the AR-15 circle and slash. He looks like he'd be happier at the dentist's office waiting to get cavities filled. The whole time he's just standing there with a look on his face that has me wondering if something happened to him prior to shooting that. He almost looks like he's been traumatized. The preteen girl with the handgun in the circle and slash? I'm guessing that is her mom to the left and she's being forced to make this campaign ad. I am thinking someone should have asked her to blink twice if that is the case and if she needed help. On top of that, when Madaleno was talking about his supposed banning of assault weapons, her holding that sign makes it clear that he wants to ban all firearms ownership by Americans. There is no other way to interpret a sign like that. If somehow you do, you are a moron, no offense. And finally, there is the little one I am assuming is her younger brother. We have the cute little one down on the left holding the Stop Gun Violence Now sign. Madaleno's own little personal Tiny Timmy can use to evoke an emotional response and get people to vote using their feels over their reels. Because why would they deny such a cute kid from being protected from big bad mass shooters through the banning of legal ownership by those who most likely would stop a mass shooting, right? Going past the wall of children, Madaleno tried to set up to protect himself in this anti-gun agenda of his, and you start to see that the NRA is his scapegoat for it. He chose them because they are a target of opportunity for the left right now. This war he's waged isn't with the NRA, it is with the people of Maryland, and I'm sure he'd like to take it national against all Americans too. The problem is, he is definitely overstating his accomplishments on getting firearms banned. Taking on the NRA. All Madaleno did was sponsor a bill that became law banning bump stocks that had some steam due to Vegas and school shootings. Nothing more in regards to his attack on supposed assault weapons has been successful. He is currently failing at getting the Handgun Permit Review Board disbanded, for example. It provides an apparatus for appeals of state police denials on concealed carry permits and would make it near impossible to get one if he succeeds. This is because how the state police operate when it comes to the issuance of permits. Maryland is like Massachusetts on the note of restrictive firearms laws when it comes to their possession and use. Getting a permit in either state is pretty hard to say the least. They use the police issuing of permits for concealed carry as a way to try to stop ownership by having them deny people's applications for any and all reasons they can muster, even ones that make absolutely no sense. The board was put in place in response to this and gives people recourse in having their Second Amendment rights infringed on. It is impartial and follows the state law in making its decisions. This is opposed to the state police who just decide for whatever reason someone shouldn't be able to exercise an inalienable right. Madaleno doesn't like that this board has the power to override the anti-gun state police. The fact it violates people's rights to firearms is probably one reason why he's failing at trying to shut it down, too. He is also failing in his attacks on firearms ownership through going after increasing the scope of what a transfer is and what is involved in performing one. As part of this, he wants it now to include the loaning of a firearm. None of this makes any sense either. Here's why. If you're a father and purchase a .22 caliber rifle for your child and give it to them, they would need a background check. To get around that, you decide to keep it in your name and let them use it. Slight problem, it's loaning it to them. So again, you're going to need a background check. To Madaleno, these are things that all fall under common sense gun laws and are an attack against the NRA. Nowhere do I see that. Nor do I see what he is doing as going after the NRA. No sane and rational person would. Like me, they would probably see this as an attack on the residents of Maryland and their right to have and use firearms. Madaleno isn't stupid, which is why he chose to use kids to hold the signs that they were. It is why he chose the little boy to say, "Take that, NRA." He is all about exploiting them for his own personal gain. Which is also the same reason why he chose to use a group of them when saying he backs public schools and not vouchers. The use of children by Democrats to push their agendas is nothing new, which is why Madaleno has no problem using them to hide behind, even when it means what he wants goes against their best interest, which is exactly what he's doing here. Backing the public schools, the very indoctrination centers of cultural Marxism, is about pandering to the teachers and their unions in the state that protect them from being fired for sucking at their jobs. Because it clearly isn't about protecting the best places for kids to get an education. The reason I say that, hands down, private schools provide a much higher quality of education than public institutions do in general. Madaleno knows this too, I am sure, which is why he's against vouchers. This is because if public schools had to compete for money with private ones, they would lose hands down unless they adapted to the market. That would mean no more substandard teachers getting to keep their jobs, tenure or not. It would mean the end of teachers making substantially more than the parents of their students they aren't actually educating while crying poverty. It would even mean the end of indoctrination over education in public schools, having to compete with the private sector actually imparting knowledge to students. As a cultural Marxist, one who wants the vote of other cultural Marxists, he doesn't want that, neither do they. It is a lose-lose situation all around for them and they know it. If this wasn't the case and he truly wanted to help the children, especially those of lower income, he would be all for school vouchers, where it would allow for them to go to much better schools than in the districts they are in. You know, schools where they have textbooks, computers and the like, because they aren't paying a bunch of their teachers 50, 60, 80 grand a year in salary for a job they work 8 months out of the year doing. That would just make sense after all. As you have clearly seen so far, Madaleno has no problems exploiting children for his own personal gain. Watching the ad like we have already, I am sure you noticed that he has no problem with not stopping short of his own adoptive kids. That is right, those two black kids sitting with Madaleno and his man are their adoptive children. Now, the majority of politicians try to shield their kids, but not him when he's a virtue-signaling fuck who's about to throw in everybody's face how gay he really is. Especially when he's got great Oppression Olympics cards playing them, being that they are both black. As sleazy as he is, I am really surprised that he didn't have it captioned or flat out said that their mom was a crackhead and they were crack babies in this part of the ad to exploit them even more. I truly mean that too. Where we are speaking about how great of a dad he is here, exploiting his children like he is, take a look at both of them right here. They are high as fucking kites. There is no way to try to claim they are not stoned out of their gourds when Madaleno recorded this segment of his ad. With how dopey his son looks here, trying to claim he was a crack baby might work for him. Because with how much he smoked, he's looking like a retarded fuck. One would think that Madaleno would have demanded that his kids not smoke a blunt before filming this, even out of his own personal self-interest. Regardless of it not being the best thing for them to be stoned at their age, no matter how you look at the situation, it doesn't look good for him or his husband appearances-wise. But then again, if you look at their two dads, both of them look pretty stoned themselves as well. So maybe they all shouldn't have passed that blunt around before shooting this part of the campaign ad. But then maybe it was the only way to get all of them in front of the camera. If it was, they should have also passed around a bottle of Roto or Visine before sitting down. Who knows though? Maybe the kids are Blackasian and Madaleno's husband has permanent red eye from getting certain substances in them, if you catch my drift. That is all pure speculation though. There is no speculation about why Madaleno and his husband kissed like they did. It was purely done to throw it in people's faces. Period. End of story. They did it as a fuck you to the heterosexual normies. They did it for some self-perceived hatred against them for being gay. This is when I can tell you that my dislike for them has nothing to do with their being gay or having high as fuck kids who happen to be black. My dislike for them has everything to do with the fact they have made assumptions about those who don't fly rainbow flags as part of who they are or suck the dick of cultural Marxism and are virtue-signaling leftists like them. I am sure with a lot they feel similarly to me on this. Just look at that kiss. I know it probably isn't something you really wanted to do again. Trust me though. Did you see how there was no love, passion, or affection in it all? Even staged like that, those things will usually telegraph at least a bit in a kiss for the camera. But there is none of it here. I think that is because of their agenda of throwing their gay in the faces of those evil Republicans, and Trump made them so giddy they forgot about making it look real. They just looked like a couple of female friends giving a peck on the lips like they do in a hetero way. Not in that way, guys hope to get to see women kissing. In closing, in my making this video, I think that I have shown that not only is Madaleno's campaign ad something that could have been seen on Saturday Night Live in the mid-1980s into the mid-1990s, probably starring Phil Hartman, I think I've shown what a virtue-signaling, Oppression Olympics card-playing, cultural Marxist of a joke he is. Let me know what you think in the comments on whether I did so or not. Also, definitely feel free to comment on what you think about Madaleno in general. If you liked this video, depending on where you are watching it, please give it an upvote or thumbs up. If you want to know when new content of mine hits the internet, don't forget to subscribe to one or more of my social media or video accounts listed here. Also, with YouTube, don't forget to ring that bell. You can find all of my video content on both BitChute and YouTube. This may not be the case with other places I upload to, but I will try to minimize this happening. You are always welcome to interact with me at any of these sites on the list, so feel free to do so. If you have anything you want me to cover in a video, when it comes to news or current events, send it right along to me. I will try to do my best to cover it. As always, thank you for watching.